Alright, so on today's extremely special episode, we have set up a lot of lights and we're going to show you how strobes are actually way more powerful than you think. So on today's episode, we're going to see how the strobes compare to continuous lighting when taking photos. I think that most of us don't really understand the power rating when we talk about a 400 watt LED light versus a 200 watt second strobe. So today we're going to show you in simple terms how a strobe rated at 200 watt seconds is way more powerful than even a 400 watt continuous light over here. So we're going to be testing a few lights today. So on the first light we have the AD200, which is a Godox. We have the Godox again QT600, which is a 600 watt second strobe. This is a 200. And I have here my 400X, which is a 400 watt bicolor LED continuous light. And we may actually bring in the 1200 watt light later on to show you that these lights don't really tally when it comes to numbers. Alright, so on this channel we do everything right. So today we have set up this speaker over here, so this is going to be our subject. We've put it on a box, so this is a standardized height. The speaker is not going to move, so the subject is always still. We have positioned a strip box over here on the side. So the strip box is exactly at the corner and the height would be exactly on this lower box over here. So we are going to have to repeat exactly the same positioning of the light, and this will help us judge where the exact positioning of the light is. Because as you know, for lighting, once you shift it away, the light power drops off exponentially the further you shift it away. So we're not going to have any question about whether the light is close enough or far enough. It's going to be exactly the same for all the shots. And we're going to keep the camera on exactly the same settings. So we're going to start shooting and see the results for yourself. Alright, so the first light we're going to use is the Storm 400. So we're going to set our camera settings to a realistic number. So it's ISO 100 at f4 at shutter speed of 1/100. Okay, so for flashes, the shutter speed doesn't matter so much because all the light is delivered in a short fraction of time. So even if you extend your shutter speed, it doesn't really change anything. It will still like freeze the motion in a way. So we're going to just use 100 because it's something realistic that we'll use indoors. And it is not too slow or too fast, because as you increase the shutter speed even more, then it will be unfair to the continuous light because you'll be cutting a lot of the output if you increase your shutter speed to like 1/250. So 1/100, and yeah, let's take the photo and you can see how this is the baseline photo and what we're going to try to achieve with the flashes. Alright, so this is how it looks on my screen. The histogram is roughly like this. So we're going to try to roughly replicate this in the other shots by varying the flash power. Okay, so I just took the photo using the AD200. So to match the exposure, we placed it exactly at the same spot, and we only set the power to 1/16. So on an AD200, which is rated for 200 watt seconds, we only used a power of 1/16 to get the equivalent exposure of a Storm 400X at 100%. Okay, so let's move on to the even more powerful light, the 600 watt one, and then let's see how little power we need. Okay, so now we've put on a slightly bigger flash. So this is the Godox QT600. So this is a 600 rated flash. It is at 1/64.5. So it is 1.5 stops darker in setting than the AD200. So you can see we're only using 1/64.5 power of the QT600 to get the same output as the 400X. So I wonder like what would be the output if we turn this to 100. So let's try. Okay, because we are in the Aputure studio today, we have the most powerful light here, the 1200X. This is a 1200 watt LED light. We're going to try and put it on here, and then we'll see if it can even match the full power of an AD200, the smallest flash we have today. This is a portable flash. This is not a portable light. You need AC, you need 1000 watts of power, and that thing runs on batteries. So let's see if this can match a battery light. Alright, so we set up the AD200 at full power, and to get a similar exposure as the previous shots, we had to change the aperture to f18. Theoretically, it should have been f22, but I think the power of the AD200 tapers off towards the maximum. So to get a good exposure, we brought it down to f18. And let's see if the 1200X somewhere there can actually match this, not even beat this. Alright, so this is the final boss of this series of lights that we're going to do. This is the Storm 1200X. It's a 1200 watt incinerator. So we put on the Emerald light box, and I've been told that we are not supposed to do this because this light box is not rated for this kind of power and this kind of heat. But we're going to do it anyway, even though we're in the Aputure studio and they're watching me do this. So if it burns, it burns. But we're going to just like pulse it on for a second and we're going to try and get the shot. So this light is going to be at full power, and let's see if it even matches the AD200. Alright, as you have seen, we didn't burn anything down because we only turned on the light for 1 second to take the photo. But this thing is a bit warm, okay? So don't do this at home, please. Aputure people say do not do this. Anyway, you can see that the photos taken with the same settings versus the Godox AD200, this was actually 2 2/3 stop darker, so it looks very dark. We managed to match the exposures, and then we worked out that it's 2 2/3 stops actually darker than the AD200. So this is 1200 watts, guys. So if you're thinking of replacing your flashes and strobes with a continuous light, you will need to buy the 5000 watt light if you want to keep up with an AD200. And you need a generator and you need a crew. Yeah, and one of the drawbacks that I've seen is that you can use smaller, cheaper, lighter diffusers with flashes because the heat output is not as great as this kind of light. So there's one big drawback to using a continuous light at high power. But there's still some flexibility with a continuous light, being that you can adjust color temperature, and you can also probably change colors if you have this kind of new gen bicolor lights or even a color light. But definitely they're not replaceable. There's appropriate situations where you will pick this over that. Obviously, I can't use a strobe for video, so if you are mainly into video, you can use this. If you take occasional photos, I think a continuous light should be pretty much okay, considering that our cameras are very good these days and we can shoot at very high ISOs. But if you're a photographer first, I would say that just learn how to use strobes because they're cheaper, more efficient, and smaller, and you can just carry less kit out. And don't forget, you can use this as in the strobes outdoors because they have batteries. Even the 600 watts, you can buy the AD600. But you can't bring this out easily because this one probably need a generator or a big ass EcoFlow. So if you like this episode and if you learned something, I definitely did, and just join us on our next episode. Bye!